Hans, welcome to TechSparks. You've been investing in India since 2012, and over the years, we are becoming bigger fan of yours because of the commitment that you've shown to Indian startups, to Indian entrepreneurs, and to the market. Today, at TechSparks, I want to ask you, last 18 months have been difficult for everyone worldwide, but more so here in India. The second wave of pandemic was brutal, and it has been brutal for businesses and naturally for startups. Having been through all these things, what are you seeing as an investor, as someone who's closely monitoring, participating in the Indian startup story? What are some of the things that you have seen which gives hope and which brings a lot of strength to how we are moving forward?
Sure. I think obviously COVID is the big thing in the last 18 months, and obviously that has been terrible for many people around the world. At the same time, it has also become a impetus for offline economy to get digitized in extremely fast fashion. And as offline might get shut down, people, this includes many founders and micro, small, medium enterprises, ends up becoming very quick at adopting mobile technologies in order to survive. And many of them actually even thrive. So we see fast growth in edtech, in fintech, in health tech, in enterprise tech, in order to catch up. And secondly, I'm surprised how you imagine that the supply chain will get heavily disrupted, and they have, but a lot of local sourcing and local capability also sprung up in order to make up for the breakdown in the global supply chain in order to keep things going. Thirdly is I see a community rally together, whether it's the founders or VCs. We were asked to participate in, for example, in ACT grants, how that nonprofit initiative sprung up and organize resources amongst the VC firms and founders in order to help those who are in need. And that's one example of many that came up during the pandemic, especially in India. And also, I see that there's just a lot more collaboration between the Indian diaspora here in the States, especially in Silicon Valley, and as well as in India. And this kind of caring for one another is something that's just impressive to see. So COVID-19 definitely is terrible, but somehow it also become an impetus for everyone to work together better and think beyond yourself, and then much faster adoption of mobile technologies.
In India, we have been talking about the next billion, building for the next billion. And somehow it just seems to be coming to a reality. And we are seeing a lot of ventures in, specifically building for this large audience, large customer base that we have. I want to understand from you, what are you seeing when it comes to India and startups and entrepreneurs and investors looking at this billion people opportunity?
Sure. I mean, you know this topic as well as I do, since you have produced so much great content. And definitely the consumers, the next billion are younger. The next billion are mobile, digital native. And they want more choices, and they have more control. They want things done faster, more automated than ever. And then most importantly, they want to use internet to change their lives, have their voices heard, and also learn more about what's going on around the world. So we see a lot more activities that's happening online, and it's just fun even watching my own kids be able to multitask, to listen to their friends talk while doing their homework, and then playing games, and then in between answer my question or my wife's question. And be connected with millions of users online, and so it's just fascinating to see what they're doing. And it's both good and bad. They multitask, but the attention span is also shorter. So you worry if they can really take all the information they get. But it seems like it's just fascinating to how the younger users are just so comfortable with mobile internet technologies. So I'm fascinated to see what they're going to build. You take example, Roblox. It's both playing games and also become a game developer at the same time. So these kind of roles are also become more multifaceted. And that's why Roblox is an amazing company, and I'm a personal investor in it. It's just fascinating to see what the future is going to be with so many more creators online than ever before. They're not just consumers anymore. Many of them become creators as well.
I want to go to a segment which has always been touted as the segment with biggest opportunity, but still has remained, the opportunity has remained unlocked. But we are seeing with the, in the post-pandemic world, if I can say post-pandemic, that technology is becoming more ubiquitous in India. Digitization is for real. What do you have to say about this segment, which contributes to, significantly 35% to the GDP of India, MSMEs? How are you seeing the MSME space unlock itself?
I think today it's 35%. Over the next decade, the number will get much closer to 50%. What we have seen in other emerging markets in Asia, for example, China, is that by leveraging technology, you can more or less make the playing field more equal than before, and allow a lot more creators and founders and entrepreneurs be able to build their business on the mobile internet. And it's one of the best equalizer that we have seen. Granted, there will be tech giants get built. These giants have a lot more power and influence and impact than before. In the US, it's the FANGs, but at the same time, they also empower a lot more smaller micro, small, medium businesses to get built. So it's almost like a bifurcation of the market, where you have tech giants on the right, and on the left you have billions of consumers who are also creators and producers, sellers as well. So that's kind of what we see happening in India as well. I mean, when Zomato goes online, and go public, it's just amazing to see the oversubscription that's happening, that's fueling it. And you've been covering for so long, that a lot of change happened since 2016 with the rise of Geo, with UPI, with GST. All that made a huge difference, build a national market. And now the enthusiasm of consumers who are also investors make a huge difference. And I do see more companies from India will strongly consider and choose to list domestically, and hopefully build up an even more vibrant and liquid financial market that will be great for the ecosystem here.
There are so many sectors that are seeing growth. Health tech, ed tech, they are growing, and we've seen in the last 18 months the way businesses, the tech startups have grown in our country. But I want to ask you, what are the core sectors according to you from your lens? Where are the opportunities? And this is for all the entrepreneurs today who are listening to you. What are some of the areas you would tell them to focus on or look at?
Yeah, great question. I think we are extremely fortunate to be where we are as a tech ecosystem in the world. You look at the rise of the tech sector as a percentage of the overall GDP growth, and as a percentage of the market cap. It is just growing a lot during the past 18 months. Even when I talk about our own LPs, investors, those endowments, pension funds that overweight on tech in their public and private portfolio ends up gaining anywhere between 28% to 43% over the last 18 months. And this is talking about managing billions of dollars already. So the impact that this has made on the ability for them to influence their organization to support more research, to serve more technology development, it has a ripple effect throughout the ecosystem. And so in the sector that's growing, as I mentioned earlier, the ed tech, the fintech, the health tech, the enterprise tech, and even on things like prop tech and industrial tech, smart tech is changing as well, because automation is happening, starting around the edges in the cloud, and then coming to meet each other in the middle, and affecting more processes, flattening out the distribution channels more than ever. So it just the opportunities to build greater businesses that have more impact in this amongst these rising tides is almost unprecedented. And so I just encourage people to focus on tech, double down on tech. Some people ask me, joke with me, do I believe in diversification? I said, I believe in diversification within tech, but I'm all in. So it just seeing more people to choose their passion within tech and do that well is the most satisfying thing that we do as a species.
Which are some of the success stories you are looking at and looking forward to when it comes to India? And also, I would love for you, especially when things are going so good for the Indian startup ecosystem, and we see, so many companies have announced that they're going for IPO, and then we're seeing so much, 17 billion has already been funded this year. What is a word of caution that you would tell us as an ecosystem? Because you have a view on all the ecosystems around the world.
You're very kind. Things don't always go up and to the right all the time. When they do, you gotta take advantage of it, and when it doesn't, not to be dismayed by it. So keep your highs not too high, your lows not too low is a sort of emotional training and development that you pick up over time. And when India was the growth was slower pre-2016, it was impressive to see people still sticking to it and trying to build things and not giving up. And many even moved to India back to India from Silicon Valley. And now those kind of patience are being paid off. And as the economy grows, they will have some shocks and adjustments. And those are the things that people should pay attention to and be aware of. And now it's not the issue, but over time, in the next 10, 20 years, the difference, the gap between the haves and have-nots, the bifurcation, impact of bifurcation will definitely increase and be there. You saw that in the US, you saw that in China. And so now it's not the issue, but over time, it is a concern. So seeing more VCs and founders who have made it to be willing to give back, to start more nonprofit, to donate more, to help those who are in need more is extremely important. And the sooner people are willing to do that, the better.
Hans, I want to move to a personal question, and I was just, I said I found it on Google, that you've talked a lot about, about how we all need to come together to raise our voice against discrimination. And stand and especially you had an incident in your family and you've spoken about it. I want you to today tell us, while we are building such phenomenal businesses and people are getting more empowered and wealthier, what is it that got you first to speak? And second, what would you like to tell entrepreneurs and business owners and everyone who's watching us today?
Yeah. Essentially, we can't stop what other people do to us, but we can control how we react and how we become part of the solution and change. I was born in Taiwan. I came to the United States in Los Angeles when I was 13 years old. And I was fortunate to be able to go to Stanford for college. Hence, I'm wearing the Stanford t-shirt. And I was at Stanford, on Stanford campus between 89 and 93. Obviously, 93 is when the Mosaic browser was released, and the world became extremely different thereafter. And so being in the right place at the right time has helped me to see more and be a lot more fortunate to be closer to tech. But at the same time, I am first generation Asian American. So when I walk on the street of smaller cities, or even sometimes in the Bay Area, people don't know who I am. And the people who just treat me as any other minority. And some of the things that are said, the attitudes are not always most friendly because they reflect their own biases. When I was younger, I remember getting into one fight in middle school as a result of that. And so it's just interesting how these are things that are happening despite how well you think you're achieving life. But we all get judged somewhat based on the color of our skin. And as a result, I'm much more aware of these kind of social issues. And over the last 2 years, you see the rise of hate crime against African Americans, Blacks, against Asian Americans, especially because of the pandemic. We can't help it but want to be more involved and be rallying be part of the community that donate more, that want to help the community groups more to empower them to make more changes. We are part of the Asian American Foundation that started by Jerry Yang, Joe Tsai, and several other Asian American leaders in finance from KKR, BlackRock, and so forth. And being part of that effort to see that happen is something that I cannot imagine when I first came to this country and see that's even possible. And this is kind of things that I think we'll see a lot more on a global basis because more people are online, you'll see more hate online than before, especially because the difference between the haves and have-nots. And therefore, we should be even more vigilant and be more active as a result, respond to that.
Wow, thank you. Thanks, Hans. This is a message we can all take at TechSparks this year. And now with this, I'm going to move to a rapid Q&A with you. What has been your motto in life?
I remember when I was young, I was inspired to read That Poet Society to do carpe diem and seize the day. As I get older, I learned to think globally, but act locally. As you mentioned, I've lived in many different places within the US, LA, San Francisco, Stanford, Boston, New York, and travel throughout the US. And then in Asia, Singapore, Taipei, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Beijing, and then started investing in India back in 2012. And just seeing how the world are very different, yet extremely similar. When I talk to Indian founders, the amount of passion, the drive, the intelligence, we carry on a conversation for a whole hour by themselves. I don't even have to say much because they have so much to share and so many numbers that they can recall.
What does money mean to you?
I remember first watching a movie, Wall Street, that got me intrigued on the role of Wall Street in the American economy. And so I started spending time and looking for opportunities that teach me more about Wall Street. And I went to New York to work on Wall Street right after Stanford. But in that process, I realized that the funnest thing, the most interesting thing for me is figuring out how the shifts in the world value chain, how manufacturing was moving out of US to Asia, and US economy was moving to more of a services economy, whereas Asia become a lot more manufacturing oriented, and different countries have specialized different segments of the manufacturing process. And remember also going to TSMC's semiconductor fab and see how things work inside of a fab, how complicated it is. And so it was just fascinating to me how things shift. There's a rise of clusters. So as a result, I just know that if I do something I like and love that can make huge impact, money will be a byproduct. If I just think about money all the time and only think about how much money one can make, it's very easy to do things that are very short-term, interesting, or short-term, fascinating or rewarding. But long-term, you realize that, you want to be thinking about longer term and how things are impacting and get there faster, sooner than others do. And as a result of making positive impact, leveraging the effect of technologies, you will have more money as a byproduct. But if that's all you do and chase, life is much less interesting as a result.
What are the 3 key things that you look at before investing?
I love to talk to founders and seeing what kind of passion and reasons they have to do what they do. You've heard me talk about founder product fit and founder market fit. So the best founders are the ones that either are fit in one of those. Either they know their market extremely well, the pain points and the growth opportunities, or the ones that knows what kind of product they want to build and to solve certain issues. And the ability of how fast the founders learn, to me, is a single most important determinant at how successful the company's outcome ends up being. And the second thing is that the leadership quality of the founders, because nobody can do this alone. You have to build a team and recruit a team, have a team be inspired to work with you to do it. And so those are the 2 sort of most important factors I look at. And then thirdly, you know how I like to spend time looking and analyzing trends on a global basis. So usually the trend analysis that lead us to meet the founders that are doing one of those two first things. So those are the things I look at when I'm making investments.
Hans, what's next for you?
If I look at how GTV has scaled since 2000, the first decade, raised $1 billion. Second decade, we really benefit from the rise of mobile internet and raised $8 billion. But more importantly, the number of unicorns have grown from single digit in the first decade to now 60 in the second decade. We have had 18 IPOs in the last 18 months. And seeing the impact that our investment have made on help founders to achieve their dream and make bigger impact on a global scale, it's extremely satisfying. And we now have the strongest team we ever had. I'm not the only one, obviously. Look at my partners, Xixing and Jenny, and then Jeff and Glenn and Eric, and then our next tier of young, exciting investors coming up that are making impact. Joshua, Haojun, Tiffany, Oren, Robin, and Wachao, and just seeing more investors coming up in our system, homegrown. Many of them were started as associates in our firm and continue to grow. And then adding Madhu for India, Dini Southeast Asia, bringing Wei Han as a venture partner, and Huey from firm as a venture partner, and Rares as a head of tech in Toronto. And so I'm excited to see what we will do as a team beyond just oneself in the next decade.
Hans, thank you so much. I wish I could have asked you more, but look forward to more conversation. This was very, very useful.